In 2008, AEG released a game called Tomb. Now, Tomb is a game with a classic theme of dungeon crawling. You gather a party of adventurers, descend the dungeon, kill some monsters, collect some treasures, and try to run away home alive, rich, and possibly victorious. The game has been very successful. It is now sold out. It has many fans that keep discussing the game online. So it is no surprise, given the success of the game, that AEG would come out at some point with another game along the same lines as Tomb. The result of this is Tomb Cryptmaster. Today I'm going to talk about Tomb Cryptmaster, which is a standalone game, so you can start from Cryptmaster, you don't have to get Tomb necessarily. Tomb Master is a sequel of Tomb, it is an expansion of Tomb, it is a reboot of the Tomb series. It has all these three aspects, and I would really have a hard time deciding which one is the predominant one. In order to talk about Cryptmaster though, I'm gonna start with a very quick overview of the basic Tomb, so just to give you a little more of context and so that you can appreciate better the differences and the similarities between Cryptmaster and the basic Tomb. The game will start in an area called the Inn, where your party marker will be at the beginning. In the inn, you will be recruiting the characters that will be forming your party. Characters are represented by these very nice tiles that have a nice illustration in the front, and in the back they have all sorts of stats, description of what the character can do, special abilities, spells, all sort of things. Characters they play very differently. If you have a wizard, will play very differently from a rogue. So there's a lot of variety there in the type of party that you want to form. The characters will come from a bag that, as you can see, holds a simply ridiculous amount of them. All of these are different characters with different abilities, different skills. They all play differently. So it's going to take you a while just to go through the bag and try each character once, let alone when you try combine them and see how they interact with one another and how their abilities can go together. So you chose your characters, and now before you enter the dungeon, you may want to give them some extra powers, so you can purchase some in cards. They can be like spells, maybe a weapon, maybe an armor. So in the end, each character will look more or less like this, with the tile there and the cards that are attached. Your party is formed, everybody has weapons, everybody has spells, things like that. All that they need is finally time to enter the dungeon. So you can see here an overview of the tomb. You will move your party marker in the tomb and you will reach these crypts here. Each crypt contains several cards, and the cards come in three types of encounter that you can do. You might have to disarm a trap, you might have to face a monster, and finally, after you go through all that trouble, you might be able to find a treasure. And these cards that you see on the board, on the tomb, in the crypt, they come from this deck here. Again, these are all different cards. They all have different monsters, treasures, traps, etc., etc. Now, in each game, you will only use a small amount of these. You will only use, maybe like 20 something. So again, you can imagine how many different possibilities, how much replayability the game has. Those are the main elements of Tomb. Recruit a party, make your characters stronger, kill the monsters, take their stuff. What's not to love in it? It's a pretty simple game. It's a fun game. I really had the sense that the theme is there. It has a lot of replayability. Different monsters, different traps, different characters entering the game each time. So most games you really feel different from one another. However, the game has several problems. One of the most considerable ones is probably downtime. There will be certain turns where you will be taking like a short action, it takes you 5 seconds to execute that, and the other players are actually taking actions that are going to take them a long time to execute. it's gonna be quite a while before the game comes back to you, and boredom will probably become a factor there. Another problem is about the rules. Now, it is impossible probably to have a rule book that covers all possible combinations of cards, monsters, items, but one still has the sense that the rulebook could have done a better job, at least laying the ground for the interpretations. You will be discussing all the times with other players how to interpret this, what does this mean, which card takes precedence, how do these two cards interact. That is part of the experience, and if you take it as part of the fun, well, that's a great thing. However, as I said, the rule book is not going to help you in any way really. Being able to sort out all the ambiguities will probably create more. Another aspect that might bother many players is luck. The luck factor in the game is considerable. Items, monsters, traps will all come from cards, and most of the times you won't have any or not much control over what you receive. A player gets bad stuff, that player won't have many opportunities to improve his or her situation. Other player receives a lot of powerful treasures, good items, has good characters. Sometimes a player might become virtually invincible. So sometimes you will have a player that just goes around the board, takes everything, the other player just sit there and look. It's going to be annoying for the other players. It might even be boring for the player that has so much power, because at that point there's no much of a challenge in the game anymore. So this being said, we can finally go on and talk about Cryptmaster. When the designers finally had a chance of rethinking Tomb, did they take all these things into consideration? Were they able to carry over to the new game all the good things of the old Tomb? Were they able to correct those problems that I just mentioned? Well, we'll take a closer look at the game, and then we'll try to decide about that.